My name is Brian Chang. I'm the candidate for the NDP in Toronto Centre, and I'm really excited to be putting my name forward to run for our community. So if we look at the set of candidates that we have right across downtown Toronto, but across Canada really, we have the most diverse set of candidates ever, both in terms of sexual identity, in terms of living with disability like myself, and in terms of being racialized and actually being present and accountable to our communities. And that makes me really excited. When you can see the type of people who are running in downtown Toronto, like Diana Yoon, like Min Suk Lee, like Paul Taylor, I get really excited. I get really excited for the kind of Canada that they represent. It's the Canada that I want. It's the Canada that we're all trying to fight for. Somewhere that is inclusive, somewhere that is diverse, and really does start to meet the needs of what people need, not just the super wealthy and not just the biggest corporations. I live here with my partner, Jeff, and we live at Yonge in College, and I think it's really important that our representation does come from the area. So we know what it's like for everyday people who are just trying to make ends meet, and who are finding it harder and harder. And you don't have to go very far when you're knocking on doors to hear these stories, and I know them because they're my friends and family who are struggling, and I'm tired of seeing friends leave the area because they can't afford to live down here. We're hearing the stories of friends who can't afford their medication that they need, things like insulin that are so core to them staying healthy, and making sure that we're actually tackling the climate emergency. And that's one of the reasons why I am running, to make sure that our community feels heard, feels represented, and doesn't feel left out of the political system. So there's a term in policy studies called regulatory capture. When we have systems that become so focused on very small kind of ideas, or when the bodies that are supposed to be there to protect us end up being taken over by industry, they stop being effective. And when we have elected representatives who actually stop listening to people and actually start really only pandering to the people that are directly around them, they're the fellow ultra-rich or corporations, people feel left out. It's what downtown Toronto looks like right now, when people are being priced out of being able to live in our communities, when people look at their elected representatives and don't see them in the neighborhood, when their elected representatives don't live in their neighborhood, when they don't know and they can't access the agenda-setting power of Ottawa because their representatives just aren't here. And it's not really an underdog story. I think really it's a choice for people in Toronto Centre for, would you rather have effective representatives that show up every day and are willing to fight for our community, who are already present in our community? Or would you rather continue to have someone who's not around, who has lots of money, doesn't hide it, and you can see that in the way that campaign is being read now. This is very much a campaign of everyday people who are coming together. And from every part of our riding here, you can see it, whether it's our trans-identified volunteers who are coming out and are engaging in the political system for the first time in their lives, to low-income people who are saying enough is enough. We need to actually start electing people who will fight for us. To everyday people who are working those 8-hour, 9-hour shifts every day, but are still finding the time to come out in the evening and give us a couple 2 to 3 hours of volunteer time because they believe in what we're doing. That's not an underdog story. That's a story of people coming together who are willing to fight for the future that they want. And I think that is so enheartening, and it really means a lot to me because it shows that the people are coming together in a way, and we can see this right across the country, and the people that are supporting Jagmeet and the NDP right across the country, and all these fantastic candidates that we have, that people are getting engaged in our system. They're hopeful. Younger people are getting engaged in our system. They're hopeful. And the candidates are getting engaged in our system, and they're hopeful. And that is the Canada that we're trying to build as New Democrats. I sing in the Toronto Mendelssohn Choir, and I think art and culture is really important, especially here in Toronto Centre. And this is something unique that I have to offer here, is that I performed in so many different places right across this riding and across the GTA. And that's important because music is inherently about community. And I think politics is inherently about community as well too. And when we can find people who have the ability to bring people together and are willing to bring people together and create something new and beautiful, I think we can do amazing things. So as we move forward in the NDP and in this election, I'm happy to always talk about arts and culture, and I think it's absolutely core to the work, and there's so much work that the federal government has to do, and I'm looking forward to fighting for that in Ottawa as the MP for Toronto Centre, and making sure that arts and culture is represented well in this election and in the future.